Welcome to another exciting episode of Montana Dream Home. I'm John Stalowy, your host, owner and founder of Stonegate Builders, located here in northwest Montana, Big Fork. Today we're going to talk about insulation, and with the weather we've had in the last couple of weeks, there's no better subject. We've had a series of 40 below weather, and I've heard a lot of folks that have had broken water pipes, and it's got me thinking that in my years of construction, I have never had a home with a broken water pipe. And I think it's because we focus so much on insulation. A lot of contractors try to cut corners when it comes to this point in a project, and I refuse to do it. If you want me to cut back on insulation building your home, lose my number, because I want people to be safe, sound, and secure. So today we're going to bring in my good friend Lon Anderson from True North Spray Foam Insulation. He's our preferred contractor. Come on in here, Lon.
How you doing?
Good, man. So we've been working together for a long time, and I've gone through a lot of iterations of, before there was spray foam, I've gone through a lot of iterations of how do you insulate properly to keep a house safe. And I've learned a lot about air leakage, water and air leaking into a home is an absolute killer. And with the technology that we have today, there's no reason in the world why a house should have to breathe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what I've come up with, and tell me if I'm wrong. So we like to spray our lids, so the entire lid is sprayed, and we use 6 inches of foam up there.
Correct.
And it actually will seal the house, make it structurally more rigid, provide any air from leaking in, and allows that attic cavity to be used to run water pipes, mechanicals, everything in a conditioned space.
Absolutely.
So then on the walls, we like to use 2 inches of foam, followed by bats. If I use all foam, well, the cost goes up because it's not cheap stuff.
Correct.
So we do that, and then we like to insulate the floors from underneath, and then we use rock wool insulation on all of our interior walls for sound attenuation. So why am I doing what I'm doing?
Good questions, and a lot of people probably don't know these answers. Some of the things that we try to do at True North is, like you mentioned, first thing is keeping your house airtight. We don't want anything from the outside coming in, and we don't want our inside going back out. So as long as we seal our homes so they're tight, we do that by going to our windows first when we first start this. We go around a window and we seal it up. And we just use can spray and we go around seal up. Next we're going to come by.
And this is closed cell.
This is all closed cell spray foam. The properties of it has about a 7.1 R value compared to a lot of people might be familiar with open cell, which is about 3.5.
Does open cell come before closed cell then? Was it
I'm not
invented before
exactly
then?
sure which one was invented first, but a little history on spray foam real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Spray foam was invented by Otto Baer in Germany, pre-Hitler. They wanted to have this as a material that they could use to fix bombed runways.
No kidding.
It's something that they could pour down to the ground, seal it up real quick, and back up nearer they go.
Who would have
That's
thought?
how this all came about.
No kidding.
Today, spray foam or polyurethane foam is used in styrofoam cups to keep your coffee hot, keep your hand not burning. It's in the seat that you sit on at your home, your couches, your chairs. Your car is completely full of polyurethane spray foam.
No kidding.
Our everything that we use in our environment has spray foam in it, and we just don't know about it.
How about that?
Spray foam in our homes has been around for about 40, 50 years. NASA first started bringing it in back in the 50s, but today it's growing probably 15%, 20% a year. It's predicted that somewhere down in the next 20 years, that 70% of all homes will be all polyurethane foam.
No kidding. What about the chemistry? Is it safe chemistry for an interior environment?
Absolutely.
Because, you know, there was a lot of talk about when they first came out with OSB, they used formaldehydes and other chemicals, and that they fume off. Do you have that problem with the spray foam?
Some of the older spray foams do off-gas. Spray foam does inherently off-gas. We say re-entry at least 2 hours, but reoccupy a minimum of 24.
I see.
So we don't want any of our clients coming into the home until we feel like it is completely safe.
Oh, that's important.
According to the manufacturers, 24 hours is the magic number.
I had a guy once approach me about doing spray foam using like a natural organic product. Are you familiar with that at all? It was really water intensive. I mean, the room was like incredibly damp after he finished. And then, of course, he disappeared. After he did
Most likely what that was is a cellulose.
Yes.
And they inject it with water, they put it in the wall, and then the water has to cure before you put your sheetrock up.
Oh, I see.
So that in itself, you're basically putting moisture into your...
Bad idea.
We prefer spray foam.
Yeah, I get it. So, so what kind of an R value am I getting with and at what point do I actually attain a water vapor barrier with spray foam? How thick does that have to be?
Spray foam at 1 inch creates an air barrier, and at 2 inches we create a vapor barrier,
I see.
which will not allow moisture to transfer to and fro. You do not want moisture coming in or out.
And so that by putting a bat over the top of that, what if you have a 2x6 construction, which is what we always do here in Montana, what air value am I getting with the bats along with the 2-inch?
So with the 2-inch spray foam, you're gonna have an R14, followed up by an R13 bat, which will give you an exterior of an R27.
Can't beat that. Most guys give 19 if they're lucky. So yeah, it's great. I always tell my guys, if you see daylight anywhere on an outside wall, it's got to go away. When they make these outlets now, these plastic outlets for on the outside walls, you see these cutouts on the back side. It defeats the whole purpose if you're going to get air leaking out through there. How do you mitigate that?
Well, what we typically try to do is any penetrations that come through your rim, through your bottom plate, through your top plate, we try to seal all those up so air cannot travel up or down or sideways.
Okay.
So as long as we can kind of block anything, you won't feel like some of the old houses, you could come up to an electrical box and feel air moving
Yeah, it's
around.
terrible. Yeah.
And any of a spray foam home, when done correctly by professional installers, you will not have that.
Great. So we want to make them really, really tight. And the next episode, we're going to talk about HVAC. But suffice to say that we want to control the environment now. So we use an HRV system, which is a ventilated heat recovery system. It actually takes the air out of the room, pulls the heat out of it, transfers it to fresh air coming into the room. And so that air coming in is already preconditioned. So your furnace doesn't have to work as hard to bring that up to temperature. But then we try to do a certain number of air changes every day. You want to control that. Total control of your air coming in and going out. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do.
Let's go visit one of the spots you just finished.
Okay.
So we're in the great room of the same house, and you just finished this spot. Why don't you give me an idea of actually your process and what you do to get to this stage?
Typically when we first come in, like I said earlier, we come in, we go around the doors, seal those off, come through, and then we go into protection mode. We're going to protect all of our glass, hardware, anything else that we can get spray foam on.
Sure.
Spray foam during the application process is inherently messy. Guys that install, when we're doing this, they wear an organic vapor respirators, fresh air systems.
Nice.
You know, protective gloves and stuff like that, since we're basically mixing chemicals. Once we come in, we try to find out where interior and exterior meet. So like on this bay right here, it's part inside, so we didn't spray the whole thing.
Right.
It's just kind of corner. But we want to make sure that we seal anywhere corners and such, so that no cold air can come in. So once we're sprayed out, we have the ceiling up here is all sprayed. We go through and we double check everything. We look at all of our different joints and stuff. There's a few spots, we're not done in here yet, but there's a few areas that we're gonna come back in and touch up. But once we spray, we come back in, we clean off all the surfaces of our studs.
Yeah, I see that. All the studs are nice and clean. And because this is balloon framing, we went with manufactured lumber here, which is really nice.
It's absolutely
Keeps the walls nice and straight. Yeah. So we went with 3 inches here, and there's a lot of windows in this room. And one of our concerns was because there's so much heat loss from the windows, even though they're good pellet windows, we wanted to make sure that the rest of the envelope was airtight and warm. So we went above our standard of 2 inches plus bats, we went with 3 inches of foam.
Correct.
At what point, and I know that I'm pretty correct on this, that there comes a point of diminishing return on the thickness of foam versus R value. So how does that work?
I have a chart that basically explains that when 2 inches of spray foam is applied, you receive about a 90% efficiency rating. 3 inches will bring you up to a 95.
It's almost perfect.
Approximately right there.
Yeah.
Much after 3.5 to 5 inches, and then after that, the diminishing return on your investment does go down.
5 inches and above.
Correct.
Yeah.
But spray foam at 7 inches is almost 100% efficient.
Really.
There is a point of diminishing return.
But now you're talking
optimized.
twice the cost.
Right.
Because it's 7 inches thick,
Right.
and that can be pretty extreme in big houses like this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is.
So I think that we made a good decision to do 3 inches in this room, and then we'll go back to the 2 inches with bats and the balance of the house because it's mostly walls.
Right.
Yeah, makes sense? I see that you tape off all of the boxes. That makes the electricians happy.
Yeah. The electricians seem to get a little testy when all
Yeah,
their
they
stuff's
sure
covered
do.
with foam, so-
Particularly if a painter's in here and all of a sudden all of his wires are white.
Yes.
They don't like that too much.
Just one fact too also,
Yeah.
John, there's been several tests done by the government. Spray foam does not hurt any of the sheathing on your electrical wires and also on your poly pipe for your water lines and stuff.
Oh, good.
So spray foam will not affect those in any way.
Well, that's
shape, or
good to know because I always have my guys go through a house before the balance of the insulation, and I have them foam every penetration that plumbing's going through. Because plumbing, if you turn a faucet on and off, has a tendency to move things. I don't like to hear the rattle, and I like everything inside the wall to be firm. So it's good to know that the foam's not going to affect it at all. So,
Right.
So does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Well, I'll tell you what. I really appreciate you coming out today, Lon.
You bet.
Yeah, it's always good to see you. And thanks for doing
Anytime.
such a great job for us at Stonegate.
You bet, John.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks for joining us today in this second episode of Montana Dream Home. We want to thank our special guest, Lon Anderson from True North Spray Foam Installation, for joining us today and explaining the virtues of using a spray foam. Keep your house comfortable and warm. Look for us on stonegatebuilders.co for future episodes. Make sure to join us next time where we'll be talking about HVAC systems. In the meantime, thanks for joining us. We'll leave the door unlocked for you.